The feminist content creator Zon is having a very important conversation over on her Facebook page talking about sex and coercion within relationships. And I'm here to remind us all that you are more than a masturbatory tool. We talk about things like being a wife appliance, a bang maid in an incubator all the time. So this one is going to be focused on coercive sex. I know that this topic can be triggering. I get it because as we're about to have these conversations, it could trigger reminders in your brain at times when you were pressured, when you just gave in, when you were just like, "Fine, here, take it." I get that, and I also want to have this conversation for the younger, inexperienced women who may not understand that consent needs to be an ongoing thing. That these types of situations are not normal, that someone wearing you down does not mean full consent. The constant pressure, pressure, pressure until you just say, "Here, fine," that is coercion. So let's have this conversation. Zahn says, I ask women in relationships with men about their biggest sexual frustration or problem. Here's what they told me. And then she just gives a bunch of anonymous quotes. So let's read through them. All right, the first lady. My husband does not listen when I say no. He constantly pressures me for sex. If he doesn't get it, he acts like a huge jerk. I usually just give in so he doesn't treat me and our kids terribly. The second woman, the fact that he was too effing lazy most of the time to bother tapping into my kinks because that was too much effort compared to jackhammering me. The worst part is the two total times in our relationship where he actually did that, he later weaponized while he was trying to grape me since he felt entitled to trade those good sex tokens in for one grape. This is why a sexual relationship between us will never be possible, even if he somehow convinces me to let him back in my life. These are all pretty terrible, but this next one is especially egregious. Husband uses me for his sexual needs, treats me like I owe him sex a certain number of times per month. Husband, for example, demanded sex after a painful medicated miscarriage. That is deplorable. These people need to divorce. This woman says, I'm perfectly happy not having sex anymore. I regret that I never had wonderful sex in my lifetime. Next woman, I feel like it's based on my partner's needs. He struggles with addiction, and it impacts where he puts his sexual energy and causes him to feel guilt and shame. All right, this next lady says, I am not interested when my feelings are hurt and it doesn't matter to him. The next lady, I hate that I do it to keep the peace and stop him from getting angry. I just want to go to sleep without feeling guilty. Then this next lady says, it was treated as transactional, where if I didn't agree to have sex enough, he didn't feel sufficiently rewarded for the chores he did around the house. And lastly, on this one, my emotional needs are ignored. It's too bad that they think that putting some tokens in the chore vending machine gets them sex out in return. All right, this woman says he thinks he deserves sex because he's a man. Then we have that I feel guilty for not wanting to have sex with him, but he literally does nothing to work on the situation. Then we have, if I don't do it, he will divorce me. I am disabled and have no means to live on my own, so my literal life depends on it, and he knows and exploits that. I hate him. This is especially egregious. This is the type of thing where people are holding rent over your head, holding your safety over your head, holding your job over your head. This is no different from that. This is exploitation. This is not love. This is quite sad. The last lady on this one says, he thinks sex and intimacy are the same thing and thinks his needs for sex are more important than my needs for connection in order for me to want sex. This top lady says, I wish he tried to seduce me with words before going straight into physical touch every time. I want more buildup. Middle lady says, everything is always about him. As long as he gets off, it's fine. He doesn't even ask what I want. When he wants sex and I don't, he wheedles and whines. When I want sex and he doesn't, he expects a single no to count. Must be nice. I also can't even cuddle him, cook a meal, or be nice to him without it turning into an ask for sex. Except it's always when I'm uninterested. I feel like it's intentional. The last lady, this is terrible. It's less than 2 minutes and not passionate. Feels like Handmaid's Tale sex. And we already know that Handmaid's Tale sex was not truly sex, it was grape. All right, this top lady says, I generally agree to sex to keep my partner doing the otherwise bare minimum and household functioning. However, during the limited time during the month when I am very interested in sex, not necessarily with him, but I am committed to our monogamy and marriage, he does not perform. He will be too busy, not secure childcare or take me out to relax, not attend if I secure childcare and plan a date, be too tired, but then expects his needs to be met all the other times without even supplying one single night of acceptable sex in a cycle. The lady at the bottom says, I don't feel like he loves me. I feel like I'm just there for him to relieve himself into me. I could be any interchangeable mouth, hand, or body. I don't think he would care. This last lady with this long quote says that my body was used as his emotional regulation binky, and when I upgraded my own knowledge about how wrong that dynamic was and how much harm it had caused me, and I communicated clearly how hard it had been negatively harming me, and that the path forward was to repair the standard of safety in our relationship in order for me to feel capable of sexual desire with him again, he got worse for 3 years. 7 years out from that conversation, and he is still resisting to put in the emotional labor to decondition from the toxicity we were raised with. I set my personal boundary for sex as an act I will engage in when I feel emotionally safe and can trust him until I am capable of desiring him because I can trust who he is at his core, then I will remain celibate from him. Sexual intimacy is a privilege that is earned through the currency of safety and trust, not emotional and physical intimidation. Hearing how women talk about sex within a relationship and knowing and understanding how sexual and just overtly gross many of these single dudes are. They are always just thinking about it. Think it's so important to them. It's so important to them, and they see women and women's bodies as a means to an end, to get that pleasure point, to get that to bust a nut, and that's pretty much it. They're using women's bodies as masturbatory tools, but we're not masturbatory tools. We're actual humans with emotions, desires, and all of that. And one of the things that you hear with these women, some of them actually do desire sex and they want it. But a lot of the dudes, even within relationships, feel like they have to coerce. Like if a woman is just like, here, take it. I want this right now. Let's go. They don't want it then. It's like, no, 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 I don't want it. I did take these comments and repost it in another group, and I'm going to keep those comments anonymous, just like these quotes were anonymous. But one woman said something that was very telling, and I want to share. This woman right here, anonymous participant 343, said, one of my exes would weaponize sex. The only time we did it was when he was in the mood. If I expressed to him when I was in the mood, he would call me a whore and a nympho. Absolutely disgusting. Because a woman in a partnership with a man can't want it. If she does, she's gross. He has to basically take it. This so many of these people need mental health screenings, but because this is not normal for them to dehumanize us to the point that it gets to this point. This woman at the bottom says, my ex would withhold sex because, in his words, you'll say yes whenever I want because you're so desperate. By the end of the relationship, he just took it when he wanted it, though. I'm now with a wonderful man who listens to me and makes me feel safe. I know that this one is a hard one. I completely get it. But like I said in the very beginning, I want us to talk to other women. I want us to continue to know and understand that you are more than this, that you are not just here for them. You're a whole human that has their own desires, beliefs, opinions. You want to say no, you want to consent when you want to consent. I get that not everybody will want to leave a comment under this type of post. I get it. It's very sensitive. This is a private type of issue. If you want to leave some kind of comment or story, you can jump into my Reddit or Instagram inboxes. Those are generally the best places to reach me. So if you want to chime in, please do so. Like, comment, and share. And if you want to find me, I'm Burb and Bougie on all platforms. Reddit and Instagram are the best inboxes to reach me.